Hey, welcome everyone. Today went as expected, went on the floor and adjourned to the call of the chair like we said we would. The governor's call for a special session we still believe was a waste of taxpayer dollars and resources, especially since we start 1 week from today in regular session. I'll take any questions people have.
Heard his request before. You've known he wants a quarter point individual income tax cut. What conversations, did you have with him about the possibility of that in regular session after the Board of Equalization numbers, all those sort of things? Is that something you all are going to consider in due time, or is that just the caucus out there this year?
Well, we have for a long time told them we want to know the real numbers before we go into anything. February 15th, we will get the real numbers. Last year, between the December estimate and the certification in February, there was a $611 million swing to the negative. We don't anticipate that big a swing this time, but we do anticipate some swing. We want to make an educated decision on how we advance as a state. Part of the reason we have such good surplus, not quite as good as he alludes to, is because we've been very good stewards of taxpayer dollars, and we're going to continue that.
The House plans to come in tomorrow and Wednesday, continuing with the passage of what they started this morning. Are you guys done for the week, or?
We don't anticipate coming back this week. Every time members are up here, there's a per diem triggered, and it costs money for taxpayers. We do not have an agreement, and so the Oklahoma Senate will be paying per diem for 1 day. The Oklahoma House will be paying per diem for at least 3 days. I thought it'd be good to have that session still open as we advance toward regular session. If we come to some agreement that we want to do a quarter point as a caucus, we'd have 2 vehicles available for us, one in special and one in regular. And special sessions do not have the same deadlines of filing bills, and so we could turn on a dime a little bit more quickly if we came to some kind of agreement, or we could get the governor to expand the call if there was some type of agreement between here and the end of regular session or even beyond.
So I'm curious, in regular session, what will get us to a tax cut? Is it a cut to spending somewhere else?
Well, yes, so you have to have a balanced budget. So you've got to be able to look at the numbers realistically and not just put numbers in there that we can't touch for ongoing expenses. Things like FMAP savings account, which we created just a few years ago, the governor includes in his numbers. And that FMAP savings account, it's kind of nuanced in the weeds, but I want to go into it for a second. We have been counter-cyclical economically many times. And so in Oklahoma, when oil and gas is down, a lot of times the rest of the country is doing well, and vice versa. And so the way the Medicaid matching on the federal side is set up, oftentimes it's counterintuitive for Oklahoma. When we're doing poorly, we get less of a match on Medicaid. And so a few years back, through the leadership of Frank Simpson, who's now out because of term limits, we created an FMAP savings account. That's got a healthy savings in it right now. It's only for the purposes of offsetting any reduction of federal monies coming into that. We also have a revenue stabilization fund that was created in my time here through the leadership of several people on the House and Senate side. That's to take out the spikes and the valleys in our budgeting because of oil and gas and corporate tax collections. He includes all of that as recurring revenue that we can use for an ongoing tax cut. We want to make sure we have a realistic understanding of what the numbers are. If we desire to have a larger tax cut than he's proposing, and it exceeds the amount of recurring revenue that we have, yeah, we'll have to look at cuts. And we're not opposed to looking at cuts. We just want to have the full picture before we do that.
Representative John Eckel spoke to us this morning, and he made the point of the House has been asking for a tax cut for the last 3 years. When you mention needing to look at numbers realistically, he says, well, the Senate has had those numbers for the last 3 years. What's the difference now? So what's your response to that?
Yeah, we don't have the numbers for the upcoming fiscal year that we're going through. I offered to the governor and the Speaker of the House last year a quarter point tax cut in exchange for them getting rid of the ridiculous idea of the Oklahoma Student Fund. Back in late April, I said, hey, if you get rid of the student fund and come to where Senator Pugh is on our education package, we will give you a 1/4 point tax cut. Governor Stitt, Speaker McCall both rejected that outright. And then 2 weeks later, they're standing at a podium with me championing the very package that I offered them in exchange for a 1/4 point. I can't help it if they don't know how to negotiate. They just didn't get there, and I offered it to them. It turns out I didn't have to.
Do you expect tax cuts to take up a majority of the session, kind of like education did last year?
No, I mean, we're not going to let social media, the governor, or anyone else dictate the agenda of the Oklahoma Senate. Obviously, taxes are going to be front and center in any conversation when you're talking about state government. We always talk about taxes. There's always tax packages. Last year, we eliminated the franchise tax. We eliminated the marriage penalty. A couple years ago, we dropped a 1/4 point in the personal income tax, and we cut corporate tax by 2 percentage points at that same time. I've introduced a bill to do away with the grocery sales tax. It's not part of this call. So, of course, taxes will be a part of the overall conversation, but no, it won't suck the oxygen out of the room like school choice did last year. That was something we were all working feverishly toward. It'll be part of the discussion, and we'll decide one way or another.
You enter the second year of the legislature with, I think, more live rounds left over from last year in policy matters than maybe normal. I don't mean to speak ubiquitously, but is there any chance that things start moving pretty quickly off the floor that are you still got veto overrides that you could take on things from last session? So are we going to see a busier start to session than that?
I think you'll see a busier. I'm not sure how the numbers stack up to previous years, so I can't speak to the truth of that. But you'll see us move quickly. You saw us move quickly last year too, and we've already got all the bills in the Senate assigned to committee. So we're ready to roll with policy. We're ready to roll with budget. We're going to have what I hope to be the most transparent budgeting process in the United States when we get done with it here in the Oklahoma Senate. So you'll see a lot of action. Wednesdays are going to be jam-packed with appropriations meeting from start of the day to the end of the day. So you'll see a lot of action. Whether or not those holdover bills are part of that mix, I can't honestly tell you sitting here right now. Anything else? All right, thank you all.